Get to your highest level that you can't deny with LevelUp Seed and Garden Supply. You grow your medication and you need an education. We're your one-stop shop, 6th the Laurel Block. For your pots and soil and your lights and beams, LevelUp has you covered, we have all of your need. Get to your highest level that you can't deny with LevelUp Seed and Garden Supply.
All right, I hit the button.
Fill your grow arena with Athena, where your blood's burning clean and green. With vigorous growth, which will let you know that the goddess, she reigns supreme. Say the goddess, she reigns supreme. Simplicity in a bottle, the ground will shake. When Athena's here, the best buzz will make. Burn something cleaner, the Athena way. Fill your grow arena with Athena today.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Well, if you can't guess, we have Athena on today, and I'm Steve.
And I'm Nichole, and it's the Level Up Grow Show.
Yeah, and today I feel like we got a big hitter in the room today. I feel like
I'm
they
excited.
really come with it, and they really come with the information for you guys to be successful at home with, which that's big. I think they actually spread the information almost more than a lot of them out there.
Well,
I
that's
feel
what
like.
we're all about. We're all about sharing knowledge, and Athena, as a company, they're doing the same thing. And so we can't wait to share with some of the cool stuff that they have going on with you guys today. So join us while we talk to Owen from Athena.
Yeah.
Welcome, Owen.
Hey, thanks, Steve, Nichole. Appreciate you guys having me here at Level Up.
So happy to have you today, and thank you for traveling. I know it was a long travel day for you, but you made it, and we're happy to have you in nice, cold Illinois.
And what'd you do? You landed last night in St. Louis?
Yes, sir. Yep, drove up last night from there, and just been excited to be here today.
Yeah,
Heck
and
yeah.
you said you're going to continue up the state of Illinois and visit our other shop here later today.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll be stopping in up there in East
Super
Peoria.
exciting. We appreciate that. We love, and that's great for the customers. They have you guys in the store where they can ask questions, see you, talk face to face, and that's what we're trying to do today too. Is just bring that knowledge to the people that can't be in the store while you're there. We're going to give them some information.
And I
here.
could tell with Owen that he really likes working for these guys, because before we even started recording, he was like going up and trying to talk to people and out there.
Customers were hitting
and the
up.
customers are waiting. They're like, we're going to talk to Owen because Owen knows it.
Yes,
'Cause
totally.
they
That's
can tell.
true.
I want to engage with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
You know,
You helped
I
the-
want-
you
whatever
helped-
I can do to help out in the grow.
Yeah, you already helped somebody with a cloning system before we even started.
Before we even started.
That's
We
it.
love that.
That's it.
So tell us a little bit, Owen, about what your role is with Athena and how you kind of got started
Yeah.
with the company.
Yeah, great question. So I'm a facility advisor, one of many. You know, we have a team of facility advisors, but I kind of really focus on the eastern United States. So what does that mean, right? What I do basically is I try to be all-encompassing when it comes to cultivation, really at any scale, but specifically commercially. And what I try to do is just help growers succeed and get past challenges, whether that's, getting higher performance out of their plants, streamlining their processes, cutting out labor, becoming more cost effective. Anything that I can do to, help cannabis cultivators succeed, that's my role.
Yeah, and so you go out to these facilities and kind of help them streamline their process or dial in anything that they have going wrong.
Yeah, dialing is a perfect term for it, really,
Very nice, very nice. And I understand, I used to work at a facility, so I do understand that when you're working at a facility, manpower, labor hours, cost effectiveness is huge because as a home grower, those numbers they seem kind of small, you're adding them up, but when you start to get into 20, 30, 50 rooms, those numbers add up super fast, and you're talking about hundreds of thousands to millions that you're losing.
Absolutely, and then those problems and challenges that any cultivator at any scale has just become more and more amplified.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Detrimental even.
So that's wonderful. So, and taking some of those experiences from the facilities and dialing them down to the home grower is really what I'm all about, because I love to have that experience, but be able to dial it down to a small scale. And you're taking this knowledge that you have, because when you're at a big scale like that, you're seeing things at such a fast pace that you're going to gain a lot more knowledge faster.
And I feel like you're documenting everything because you want to know what you're doing per square foot, probably, of canopy or whatever, and of course your cost of nutrients too.
So you dial things in a little bit
But
more.
I do feel that you do have to also weigh in quality. And I feel like you guys do put off a quality product. You could put off maybe something cheaper, but this actually produces a more quality product, I feel like, especially the blended line. I'm seeing residential growers grow, well,
At a professional
level.
Yeah.
And you're making it easy for them. There's some things you're doing. One of them is the handbook. And I think you guys have a call number too, that if you have any issues, you can call and get help at any time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. What we try to do is we take what we learn from growing at scale and having a lot of R&D effort in that regard, and we boil it down and try to make the products and the processes, tailored towards smaller cultivators,
accessible
right?
for the craft or the home grower.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's important to them. It's important to us. And if we can take what we learn and help make it easy to implement at that level, then that's the goal, and everybody wins.
That is the goal. And now this line is the blended line that we have here. So you guys have the blended line, and then you have the pro line.
Yes.
What's nice about the blended line is for a non-experienced grower or an experienced grower, it makes it very simple. It's chelated, so it's like straight to the plant, right? Everything's accessible for the plant.
Highly bioavailable.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Immediately bioavailable.
And that's huge. Plus, it's a very simple line. So some of these lines out there, not naming any names, but some of the lines out there are there's so many parts to them, right? This really makes everything very simple. And so explain that to me. Tell me a little bit about this line.
Yeah, the blended line, it's super easy to use because they're just ready to mix into batch form, right? Straight out of the bottle, right? So
they're batch ready.
Exactly. Now, they're super clean, super stable, meaning like when you do make a batch of these nutrients, it's going to be a stable pH. You're not going to get fallout. You're not going to build biofilm in your reservoirs, anything like that.
Now, I've heard, tell me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that this can stay in a reservoir. Like, most nutrient lines is 3 days, they say. I've heard this one can go up to weeks, right? And stay stable.
Absolutely. I'll just give you my own personal testimony, and this is kind of the same for either line that we have, but my batch reservoirs for my veg rooms, typically, sometimes those will last up to 2 weeks before I use them, and at the tail end of that, I'm still right on my pH. I don't worry about fluctuation at all.
As a grower, that is like music to my ears, right? Because that's going to take your workload and cut it in half, right? I have to make a reservoir every week, which is just what I'm used to. I make a new reservoir every week,
So it makes sense on what we're seeing in the store. Honestly, we have hydro growers, they're bouncing all over, but when they get to Athena, they stay. And that makes sense because hydro is a water reservoir, and you're able to not do as much work if you do the correct recipes, is kind of what you're saying, right? Also,
right.
Keep
and
it stable.
And you're not running around chasing your pH, making a daily
Hardest
adjustments.
part of hydro is chasing
that's
the pH.
that's the time-consuming part.
Right.
So that's awesome. Then I know one of your products you use is a pH up, right?
Yes, that's balance. That's what we see right here. Yeah. That actually has a couple roles. I'll talk about it real quick.
Yeah,
real quick,
please, let's talk about it.
So, yes, it is what we recommend using as a pH up. That's one of the roles that it plays.
Now, for everyone at home, if they're running anything, they can use it as a pH up, correct?
100%. It can be compatible with any other nutrient line outside of Athena too.
But it's not like a pH up where you'll add a little bit of pH up and then test it. Like, you run this in with your nutrients. Like, it's just something you add every time, right?
Well, that's about application, right? So you can do it that way if
Okay.
you're, if you're using another nutrient line or if that's how you prefer to adjust your pH. We try to simplify it by figuring out what that number is on the front end, and then now you can add that first into your batch.
And keeping it
so that way, by
consistent.
the time you mix all the rest of the ingredients in, you're hitting your target every time, and it takes the guesswork out of it. So
Now, is this starting from RO water? Like, you have to start from RO water, because if you're starting from tap water, you don't really know.
You get some parts per million going on there, and you have an alkaline pH, so they don't mess the pipes up in the city. Usually, the RO doesn't seem to change the pH too much.
Yeah, so RO is always going to be highest recommended, but it's not a necessity.
Okay.
Even in my own grows, I use municipal water. Right?
Okay,
So,
good to know.
It's always good to still sediment filter, dechlorinate it if you can.
Sure.
But yeah, RO is not a necessity. Balance does play a role with RO specifically, where it'll act as your nutrient buffer to create a
Right.
more stable solution before you add the nutrients themselves in. And it's a potassium silicate-based product, so it's bringing silica to the root zone, which is another reason why it's best to have it in solution first.
Well, I really wanted
Because
to.
when you're adding silica, you always need to add silica first.
Ideally.
Ideally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
I really want to talk about each thing here, but I really want to start with the A's and B's. And my question was this: okay, I know it's good for hydro. If we have a soil grower and he needs to feed his plants, can he use the Bloom A and B and kick his stuff up a little bit, or how's this work?
100%. It can be used as a soil supplement, anytime if you need a boost, especially when you're in like late flower and you want that extra phosphorus and potassium in your soil. Like a lot of people, especially outdoor growers and stuff like that, rely on that kind of technique.
Okay, that's good, because Illinois, everyone's starting to grow outdoor now, and everybody's trying to figure out, what do I do outdoor? Because a lot of this, I think, is just for indoor, but it does work outdoor. And
Yeah, because of its immediate bioavailability, that's what makes it a useful supplement. When you're trying to fix a deficiency or boost a specific element, then that's when you would turn to like a salt-based additive like this.
Absolutely. Even as an organic grower, you can veg organically and then hit it with a bloom for your flower part if you want to, There's definitely different ways you can do it. But I guess what my point of this, I just lost my point. We're going to cut that part out.
no, we're leaving that in because it makes me look better. Because someone told me the other day, like, they don't need you on the show. Just let Nichole do it. I'm like,
told
look,
you.
you guys need me. You guys need me at home.
Listen, I need you,
I'll
Steve.
keep
I need
you
you.
together.
No, the
Jesus,
point. I
Nichole.
think the point we're all trying to make is that it being a chelated immediately bioavailable, it allows you to make quick changes to your nutrition in your roots.
That's the point I was trying to make. yes.
Whereas like organics can sometimes take a long time to break
Yes.
down and become
week or two.
bioavailable. Right. If
Yeah.
you want to make a quick pivot or make an adjustment
I
to
think
fix a deficiency,
something for
that's the
people to
way
keep
go.
in mind. Organic growers, you have to be 2 weeks ahead of your plants, at least 2 to 3 weeks
Yeah,
ahead of your plants. So
absolutely.
you got to really know what you're doing. With this kind of stuff, it's not that you don't have to know what you're doing, but there's recipes that you can follow. As a newbie, you can take this and you can have
Yeah.
a good grow with it
And
if you follow the recipe.
and if you guys at
properly.
home caught what he said earlier, if you're experiencing a deficiency and you don't seem to correct it every grow, you can throw this at it for a feeding or two and watch your plant green up. Because I really do feel like what you said, everything's available now.
That's right.
Going
You know,
straight to the plant.
Yeah.
like a lot of people who don't necessarily use the entire line, a lot of people will supplement our CalMag, for that particular.
And
Because it's chelated and it's going to work immediately.
And it's a great price, honestly. It's
super
it's right there.
Yeah, as far as liquid fertilizers go, it's very, very cost effective.
Yeah, very nice. And it's got at least a 2 in it. I mean, that's a lot. A lot of these CalMags only have a 1, I believe. So, I mean,
Yeah, if you're looking for the extra nitrogen, that can help.
yeah, great.
Nice. So we have a grow A and B, a bloom A and B.
Yes.
So let's talk about the other additives that we have here: Balance, Cleanse, PK, and CalMag.
Yeah, so your A's and B's, those are your base nutrients, right? That's going to be the kind of the meat and potatoes of the recipe, right? As far as your macro and micronutrients go. CalMag is kind of, we separate that to give you a higher level of control.
So like if you're in cocoa, you're going to have CalMag. Hydro, got to
totally.
have CalMag, right? But if
Totally.
you're using this in soil, maybe you don't have to use the CalMag.
Yeah, if you have plenty of calcium present
so
in
you-
your soil, then you might not need to, and you
Do-
would just stick to the base.
Do your A and B's have any CalMag in them?
Yeah, they do.
Just a small amount. You know?
Like
Yeah,
the
it's
base
not the main source.
foundation.
Like if you were going to
And-
rely on this system like completely for hydro,
Yeah.
I would 100%
Well,
want to add the.
and then the other
supplemental
reason you
calcium.
guys do things like that is because of the science behind the blend. And I totally understand that now after seeing the book next to you. Hold that up for a second. That book, I kind of started reading it and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? You guys are following the science, and you guys, if you had to change something, I'm sure you guys would change it. And I like the direction Athena's going. It's producing amazing stuff in the store. We're seeing some really clean, great, giant yields from your products. And so we know the recipe matters, and you guys keep things fractioned out in each bottle for a reason, right?
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that just now, Steve, because we have changed things. We have changed our recommendations. We've changed dosing recommendations and things like that to our feed chart, and that's just based on vast R&D efforts, and if we learn something new in our organization, we bring that to our customer base.
Heck yeah.
Right? So like, we're not afraid to change a chart, and if we find this works better through our R&D, it's like we want all of the people using our products to be successful.
So that's great about them, because I believe to have a good product, you have to have some humility, and the guy who's leading your charge, he does, and it sounds like he listens to everybody and watches everybody and is constantly evolving, which is going to just keep making Athena better and better, which I respect that.
Well, the whole industry is constantly evolving, so we try to be on the cutting edge of that. And
that's what I'm seeing too. Is I'm seeing working at this store, Athena is one of our. I guess I've seen in the last few years how much more popular it's gotten, right? It's been one of the more popular ones. I've also seen it coming into more commercial facilities. So you guys are really growing, and people are really coming on board. And I think, in my opinion, one of the keys to that is the science that you guys are and the knowledge that you're giving.
And you guys
right?
are growers. You just don't own a nutrient company. You guys are growing.
That's
so
right.
We are too. So we feel like it helps shape us too and everything. But
yeah,
so
we
you
can
have this,
see it. We see you guys making an impact.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And
thanks for saying that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then the other thing I notice about your product is it's super clean. It's like the really clean. And I know it's not organic. It is clean. It's like I've seen it run through hydro systems and different stuff, and it seems like it's the one that keeps everything looking the best.
Yeah, that's part of what it's specifically designed for. Like this is totally applicable to smaller hobbyist growers too. But these products were developed from the ground up to be able to meet the demands of like complex irrigation systems, dosing systems, large scale irrigation.
Anybody that's used like a large scale irrigation system knows how much manpower and work it takes to clean those, right? And it's in every harvest thing. Every time you harvest, you have to clean the lines.
Yeah.
Athena, and I'm not going to speak for these commercial facilities. They have to run their own SOPs, right?
Right.
But I know that you don't have to with Athena. Like, some of these are running so clean that you don't even really, you just run some water through and you're ready to go for the next time. That's crazy. Like,
that's
crazy.
The idea. You want to avoid any type of mineral scale in your system.
But you guys are there, that you're that clean. That's amazing. I'm very impressed.
Because think how much money you're making people, because the turnaround time is quicker now. And it's cleaner, which I feel like
you're not using as many products.
I really do feel like, though, with hydro and stuff like that, you have less bugs. And I just
for sure.
And I feel like everything's going that way, because everything I've seen, once they get it dialed in and they grow the hydro way, it's the most rewarding. It's the best yields. I don't know. People challenge me on terps, but I'm seeing just amazing stuff, and it's just hard to say,
Well, I kind of want to touch base on some of the cleanliness and the consistency of the product, because I think that's important, and I think that's what's really beneficial to a lot of growers. But like, when it comes to our formulation, it starts from the sourcing of your raw ingredients, right? And that's why we have exclusive contracts with various mines around the world, here in the United States as well. And we get it allows us to have control over the quality of the raw inputs that we're getting from our suppliers, and we kind of get only the highest quality that we can. Everything gets tested before it ever even gets put into a formulation.
I swear, I say, it all comes down to sourcing. With all of these companies, it all comes down to sourcing, and you guys are doing it right, so I love hearing that.
Well, they're also, if they don't produce a good product, they're not going to grow a good product either, which I like that.
That they're growers, so they care?
Yeah, they got themselves in a headlock.
Yeah.
So they have to keep evolving and getting cleaner and better, because that's what you guys need, too, to separate yourself from everybody else, because there's a lot of competition out there. And if people really are passionate and know how to grow, they easily separate themselves from most of the people out there. You know what I mean?
So I'm excited to hear that you guys are sourcing that high quality of sourcing.
Yeah, the manufacturing it's kind of insane, actually. And we actually I'm happy to say, in this past year, we became ISO 9001 certified, which is a big, I'm not sure if any other cannabis fertilizer has achieved that certification, but basically it's a testament to our quality control measures, and standing up to like heavy audits from every step of the way, from sourcing to manufacturing to bagging to the end formulation guaranteed analysis, as well as like RMAs, like anything like that.
Right.
So
you guys are a standard above the rest when it comes down to that, because on some of these products, they'll test for heavy metals and all sorts of things that you don't want. Your body can't process that the way
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like
that you want to. You can't. This is good for the plant, good for us too. And that's what's huge about sourcing, is this is going into our bodies. So it matters what we are putting in there. So the heavy metals and the sourcing, that's the poor sourcing, all it's doing is affecting our health.
Absolutely, and every single Athena product gets thoroughly tested for heavy metals before it even gets mixed into a formula, and then again after the fact.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, and then to see how clean it runs is another thing, because it runs clean, and you can see that in the end product. You can taste it, and when you smoke it, you can also see it in the lines. I listen to, you guys have a podcast called We the Growers, right?
Yes.
And so I listened to you guys' podcast, and one of the podcasts, I don't remember who it was that you had on, but they had taken a Q-tip, and they had some kind of food grade testing where they could test for mold, mildew, protein particles and stuff, and they tested after a run with Athena, and it came up clean. Like, they didn't even really have to clean the lines. And now they said they're not recommending to not clean the lines.
Right.
We always recommend, good hospital, style cleanliness.
You don't want to cut corners.
No cutting corners. But the testing proved that it was that clean, right? So how awesome is that? That's quality. That's what we're looking at.
It's just one less hurdle you're going to have to jump through as a cultivator. If you don't have to worry about your lines getting
scaled up,
and worrying about the pathogens that come along with that, or clogged drippers that come along with that, it's just one less headache and one less battle you have to fight in your grow.
Yes, and that's a huge thing when it comes down to big scale cultivation, is that can be a huge manpower, cleaning all the drip lines and clogged drip lines and all that kind of stuff. So the less you have to do, the more money you're making, and that's huge when that kind of grow. At home, it's also just more quality family time, or more time for you to do what you want to do without spending that time down in your garden cleaning things.
Oh, that's exactly right. Anybody who's cultivated knows that you're kind of highly dedicated to the plant, right? And it takes up a lot of time, and the plant's your boss now. So,
which we love, but we also have a life. We like to have a life.
That's it. It's trying to maintain that balance.
Yes.
Well, me and Nichole have a lot more questions for you, but we're going to take a quick smoke break.
Sure.
Hear a word from our partners.
Hi, it's Nichole from LevelUp Seed and Garden Supply, here to talk to you about one of my favorite IPM products, Pure Crop One. Pure Crop One uses advanced biochemistry to naturally eliminate pests, mold, and mildew while increasing your plant's health. Pure Crop One is a natural suffocant. It's already emulsified for you, but it's not just a suffocant. It's a carrier of nutrients uptaking through your plant, and it increases the sugar levels. This product leaves no residue behind. It tests clean, and you can use it through all growth stages, all the way up until harvest. If you want to treat thrips, spider mites, aphids, leafhoppers, even powdery mildew, this is the product for you. For Pure Crop One to be most effective, spray on the top and bottom of the leaves, and be generous when applying. Don't forget the stem. Apply once a week for preventative maintenance, and every 3 days for a pest or mildew outbreak. You can get this product at levelupgardensupply.com, or come see us at our East Peoria and Springfield locations. Thanks for tuning in today, and always remember, money doesn't grow on trees. That is a lie. Level Up, Seed and Garden Supply.
Step into the arena with Athena, where your blood's burning clean and green. Vigorous smoke, sure to let you know that the goddess, she reigns supreme. I said the goddess, she reigns supreme. Simplicity in a bottle, the ground will shake. When Athena's here, the best blood you'll make. Burn something cleaner the Athena way. Fill your grow arena with Athena today.
We're back. Thanks for staying with us.
We're back. Welcome back. And we're still here with Owen from Athena. And we're going to continue talking about the Athena line today.
Yeah, so when we left off, there was a couple things here on the table we have not talked about yet. And one of them was the PK.
Yes.
And I see it's got bigger numbers on it. It's a 4 or 5. So can
0,
our
4,
outdoor
5.
growers use this at all this year?
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
if they're not running the whole line and they just want to add something to boost their flowers and What can we use this for?
For sure. When you're getting into later flower, if you're growing outdoors in soil, like when you're in later flower, a lot of growers will want to hit it with the extra phosphorus and potassium, just to kind of boost that finished quality. Another good thing about our PK specifically is it's kind of high on sulfates, which really kind of translates to more resin production and things along that lines as an abiotic stressor in the root zone.
Love that.
Yeah.
And also, another couple things we have on the table here, and the PK is great. It's a great additive. But I want to talk about the IPM, because when it comes down to pest pressure, this product is where it's at. There are products that I have that we sell in the store, but I also have that I recommend to people as a preventative. But when they have pest pressure, like when it's there,
Right.
that's the product I send them to every time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super versatile, and it's super safe to use. You can use it in all 50 states. It's EPA 25B exempt, so it's not on any banned pesticide list or anything.
No,
like
but
that,
and
right?
it works. It
Totally,
works.
Totally.
It's some of the stuff we use, we might use like an oil-based suffocant or something, great as a preventative. But if you have high pressure, that's not going to take care of your issue. Not that alone anyway.
Right.
You're going
right.
to need a little bit more.
And that is one of the motive actions, with the oils. Like we use high quality, like horticultural oils rather than like just cheap soybean oil
Okay.
and stuff in our
So
formulation.
Totally.
is that why we see it solving a lot of problems more than other products?
Yeah, the efficacy is there. Also, like I like to fall back on our SOPs. So like we make specific recommendations and SOPs for a variety of different pests, because you want to approach different pests differently.
Where can we find those SOPs?
You can find them actually right in the handbook.
Yeah, can you pull the
or,
handbook
or
up?
right on our website even, whichever.
Nice.
Yeah.
But so it's cool because we actually partner with UC Davis in their research greenhouses and did really large scale studies with our IPM products against these pests in a really controlled and measured environment, and that's where we've been able to like really dial in our recommendations.
So you've tried and true, the research has been done.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Through, like,
Love that. That's awesome. So if you, I think that when it comes down to pest pressure, organic growers really struggle with it a little bit more than if you're using salt-based. Now, not that being said, anybody can get pests. People can bring them into any garden.
Every grower
Everybody
has
gets
had pests.
right? But if you're an organic grower, it's something that you have to keep the pressure down. They're going to be there, right?
Right.
So the IPM is a great thing to add even as an organic grower. But if you're in a facility, you have to have an IPM regimen. In a home, I really recommend to have a preventative IPM regimen. So many people wait until they have a problem and then they start treating. And the key, just like anything in life, is to prevent. It's harder to treat when you have a problem. So you always want to
prevention. That's
right?
the term, right? Yeah. And that's a good thing about our SOPs too, because they kind of break it into different dosages and recommendations for if you're doing it preventatively, or if you're battling like a really high level pest pressure that's active, right?
Right.
So if you're just using it from a preventative standpoint, you can cut your dosages down, cut your application frequency down, and that's going to allow you to be a lot more cost effective.
That's
while
right.
preventing your problems.
While preventing, yes.
And you can ramp up and go into war mode when the time is right, or if you do have a pest that you're struggling with.
And that's the way to do it, and that's what I think people really need to start putting into the regimen, is make sure that you're doing a preventative IPM. You can always ramp it up if you need to, but it's an important part of your nutrient regimen.
And your book has a section on IPM,
SOPs.
I'm sure.
Absolutely. We have various SOPs for specific pests, like if you're battling spider mites, if you're battling thrips,
How
or
cool is that?
powdery mildew, and things like that, because the recommendations on application vary. They're kind of tailored to breaking up the pest reproductive cycle.
That's right.
As well as like having enough concentration strength for contact killing power.
Yeah, so some pests you might do every 3 days, and some of them might be every day. Some of them might have a faster life cycle.
Totally.
So, like that.
Some
that's
are going
what
to be
you're
like
talking
2 days on, 1 day off. And that's just to like knock down the population before they get a chance to lay new eggs, and then like the eggs
the
that
babies
are
come
there,
out.
they get born, and then you try to knock them out before they get a chance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a regimen.
It's a fast
So this
life
is a good
cycle.
moment for everybody at home. Say you have bugs and you treat them, right? Well, you have to keep in mind that these eggs are going to hatch for like 20 days around there at least, right? So you
Most
have to
insect
you need to
life
treat,
cycles.
and then also you need to prevent. Like I feel like once I started preventing in my garden, I didn't see bugs anymore.
That's
know.
right. That's right. Most insect life cycles are 2 to 3 days, so they're fast.
True. And it does more than just insect killing power too. Like that's one of the modes of action.
So the molds and the mildews, right?
Right, and that's where the citric acid side of the formulation comes into play. What that does is builds up on the leaf surface, and it creates a more extreme pH of the leaf surface. So that helps prevent like powdery mildew spores, for example, from being able to inoculate.
Right, because what we have to remember is powdery mildew spores are always out there. You're just trying to stop them from inoculating on your plants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's other things that at home will cause issues. And I know one of them is bringing in too cold of air into your room at home or into a big grow facility. I feel like they have more powdery mildew issues. You feel like that too?
Well, yeah, ultimately, like, that comes down to, like, environmental controls, and if you don't have really tight control and your vapor pressure deficit, or VPD, as we call it, if that's not in balance and your humidity spikes up too high for too long, now that's when pathogens like that can thrive.
Totally. Absolutely. Let's talk about this next product here. We got Stack, and that's a really cool product. So tell us about Stack.
Yeah, that's a foliar feeding product. It's basically, not to oversimplify it, but it's mainly a kelp extract.
We love kelp.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to really, it's really going to boost vigorous growth.
Right, and help things stack closer together, right?
And I can see that correcting issues too. And the uptake is foliar, right?
Yeah. I recommend using it as a foliar only. Kind of keep those kind of organics out of the sterile root zone that you're trying to maintain. And it's just far more cost effective that way.
And for our listeners at home, some people may not understand how foliar works and the uptake on that. Can you just kind of touch on that real quick on like how the uptake, is it faster, or how does this work?
Yeah, so it varies from product to product, but some things are really useful in the root zone, and other things can be achieved or applied foliarly rather than in the root zone, and you can get just as much out of it depending on what you're trying to achieve. And that you're going to use a lot lower rates of it that way, rather than applying it every day like you're feeding your root zone every day. You might just be foliar spraying once a week and getting that benefit from that one application.
I think foliar is so important. I think a lot of home growers are missing that piece of their recipe. And if you don't know what to do when it comes to foliar feeding, grab a bottle of Stack, follow the SOP from the nutrient book, and start foliar feeding. Yeah. And what you want to do is spray under the plant, under the leaves. There's like almost little mouths under the leaves, like stomata, and they're going to uptake those nutrients from the plant. And the plants love it. Do it with the lights out. Turn your lights off for a little bit. Give them, half an hour light rest. Foliar feed them. Turn the lights back on. Come back in an hour, and you'll see the plants will just be like,
And how long could you foliar feed the Stack along in flower? Like, when do you usually stop?
I don't really recommend spraying it anywhere past week 2 or 3 of flower. Okay. Just because you don't really need to.
Not on the buds. Once it starts forming buds.
I never recommend spraying anything on bud sites unless it's like a dire need.
No, this is vegetative up through week 2.
But question I also have is, the Stack will prevent stretching?
No, it's not going to prevent.
But it's going to help tighter. The Stack is going to help tighter bud structure for sure, right?
Yeah, it's basically
the node spacing.
Right,
yes.
It can certainly help with that. With bud onset, bud site formation, anything like that. It's going to encourage, and that's why I like using it for those first 2 weeks of flower, and definitely all through veg, because it's just going to create vigor. It's going to prevent certain levels of micronutrient deficiencies that can occur.
Yep. And it's going to increase yields.
Yeah. And I
can see it just increasing yields, right?
It's a bloom enhancer. That's
when you do side-by-side studies like that we've done, it's like a no-brainer. It's
great.
Yeah, and
but I like that you're doing the science.
That's
you're not looking for a cheap product. You're like, what product do we need? To make this happen.
Everything gets thoroughly studied and R&D before we'd ever bring anything to a market. But I want to give a little pro tip about foliar spraying. You can kill 2 birds with one stone. You can spray for your pest management or preventative with IPM and Stack at the same time.
So that's true. You can mix the two, and that's what I do at home. I have my IPM mixed in with my foliar feed, and that's how they get fed when I do my foliars. So make sure that you are checking whatever product you have to make sure they can be mixed, but these two can be mixed together and used together. So you're killing 2 birds with one stone, which is a really great thing to do as
Like
a
you
grower.
said, cutting down on labor,
Cutting
maybe
down
have
on
a
labor.
vacation once in a while.
That's what we like to look forward to.
Well, what I look forward to is no problems in my garden because I've lost crops and I've had issues, and that's what actually why I like to hand water too, because I like to be seeing what's going on with my plants.
Yeah.
But I have noticed in the shops here that if people are struggling to solve a problem with the pest, the IPM seems to work, and the stack seems to help them also on the yield increasing, and they keep coming in, and they only use it, the first couple of weeks of flower.
Right.
Are
A
you
little bit
saying-
goes a long way.
Should you
It's a
use it in
powerful
veg
product.
too then a little bit?
Oh, I would 100% recommend
sure.
using it in veg, especially if you're like one of the growers who has like a really short veg cycle. Like if you're burning and turning and you're only vegging for
2
like
weeks,
2
3
weeks,
weeks.
3 weeks, then you want to get the most out of every day.
That's right.
So like that's where you can really kind of maximize your performance and by incorporating it into veg.
One thing I love about these Athena products is there's no repeats, right? Like some of these companies, they'll have like products that are almost repeat. It's like the same product, something's a little bit different. So I feel like as a consumer, you can get really overwhelmed. Like this, it's like each product has a certain purpose and there's no overlap, you know?
Each product has been developed by them using it on their products and saying, let's make it a little better this way or that way.
We're not just throwing things
Yeah.
on there because we're like,
And-
oh, it's got to have
And
something
Athena,
more.
what's Athena's slogan?
We the grower?
We the growers. They're actually saying we the growers. Like all of us are. They are too. This
That's
is
right.
kind of cool.
That's true.
So they're
I
just
love
not a nutrient line. They are growers, and we respect that. And I'm sure you guys watch everybody else and listen to us and say, hey, we're doing this with this, and everybody's learning from each other.
Absolutely.
And so we like selling you in our store because you guys are. You go above and beyond, I feel like, with the customer. So we want to say thank you for that because it makes our jobs easier, and then the product's awesome,
Yeah.
And that's something that we didn't really touch on earlier, but that's a huge part of what you get when you use these products. It's not necessarily just all about the products themselves, and they are great, but it's the service side of things, right? It's the support you get from our support network.
Yeah, your support network is awesome. You call if you have a problem and a grower answers the phone. It's not some, customer service representative. It's a grower and they're going to help you with what you have going on.
100%. We have the strongest network like that in the industry, and that's just solely there to help growers succeed.
And I love that you guys also send people to the grow shops, right? So like you could direct sell them. But instead you say, hey, go check out LevelUp. You can get all your stuff there from them. They're going to help you out.
Oh, yeah. Grow shops, these are staples in the community, right? And, like, people turn to shops, and like you guys yourselves, for information, for guidance, for help to source their products that they need, to get recommendations, maybe share genetics. There's all these different reasons why, like, the heart of everything, starts at the hydro shop.
That's
in
right.
this industry. So
Well, we appreciate the support.
we appreciate the partnership.
Yeah. And the other thing is Athena has one more product here on the table that I really believe in. I really do like, and I could use any cloning gel in the store. And right now we are using that Athena Cuts. Maybe
Yeah.
hold that up for a second for them so they can see. It's a little shiny, but yeah.
We teach grow classes, and one of our classes is topping, pruning, cloning, and we go through how to prune a plant properly, how to top a plant, how to clone a plant, and everybody gets to clone, and this is what we use, this is what we show them, and then our classmates all end up buying it. It's the product that we believe in.
The container's simple. It's
yeah,
it's
what a
different than
great
everybody
container.
else. It's a squeezable, resealable lid. It's great.
Remember when they went from sour cream in the container to the, right?
That
And
was
the
it was
best.
like the best.
It's great. It's like perfect. It's like
It was like
lovely
you guys
bag.
were like, that's the move. I'm going to do that. And I was
know.
like, that was brilliant.
I literally
Brilliant.
used it on tacos 2 nights ago. I'm like,
Well,
I'm like, where are we at here?
The package
future.
design it's there to simplify the process. It's going to eliminate waste, and it's going to stop contamination and stuff like that.
I love that. As you know, all of us growers have a little bit of a hippie in us. We all want to be environmentally conscious and making sure that we're making the right decisions. And yeah, we don't need a bunch of plastic containers around. The more that we can cut back and start doing things like this.
Yeah.
And I saw with your Pro line, you guys went from plastic tubs to boxes,
Yeah,
right?
cardboard, right.
Which is way more environmentally friendly. I love that.
That's
I can see the thought process that you guys are taking, and I like that.
Yeah, they're from the culture before they even probably started the company.
That's
you know
what
what I mean? They're
matters,
like,
right? Well, we the growers, we notice it. So
Yes,
I
we do.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
So let's check out this book. This nutrient. So this is something that everybody can get. We have them in the shop if people want one. If they grow Athena and they need a book, we have these Athena books.
Well, sometimes we have them.
They can get them
Everybody
online
wants
too.
them,
Yes,
you know.
everybody wants them, but
I
they can see it
definitely
online.
encourage people to get their hands on them because it's a all-encompassing book. It covers a lot about cultivation, especially if you're using Athena products. But there's a lot of good info in there, even if
No
you're
matter
not.
what, right? A
And
wealth of information.
Honestly, isn't this like a book? This thing's almost like a degree in a binder, right?
Yeah, you want to go to college for cannabis? Here you go.
Well, like cultivators, especially on a commercial level, like that's the hardest part is developing your SOPs.
For sure.
And like this is like a huge shortcut. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, these are all thoroughly studied SOPs and recommendations that are going to lead you to success.
What I love about this, you guys did not, try to make money off of this. You're just like, here's the knowledge.
That's it.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Well, they're backing their product. They're like, if it doesn't work, it's your own fault because we know it
We're
works.
showing
if you do this.
showing you how to use it here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I love
That's
because
one way.
they're standing on their product like he talked about in order to get that certification earlier.
Love that.
They were standing. No one's really getting that certification yet, huh?
Yeah, not that I know of as far as like cannabis fertilizer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's
that's
cool.
huge.
That's really neat. You guys' heart is in it, so I know it's going to go somewhere great. But so this book covers everything pretty much when they're using your product from seed to clone to harvest, right? Kind of.
Yeah, we've got SOPs as far as like using the products themselves and feed schedules. We have, you had mentioned those IPM spraying SOPs for various pests. Those are in here. If you're teaching propagation classes, we have a whole chapter on propagation with photos and step-by-step procedures on cloning.
Yep. I see genetic preservation recommendations. So the genetic preservation is going to be your cloning section, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of propagation and tissue culture.
Tissue
specifically.
culture, yeah. You guys have tissue culture kits, which are really cool.
Yeah,
and maybe I know we're going to have you back later in the year, and we'll talk about that here soon. But maybe that's something that we can.
Oh yeah, a whole episode on tissue culture
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and how it cleans up the genetics or
'Cause
how
I
it
don't think
brings it
everybody
out of a
knows about that.
disease.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do a whole episode on that.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll do some, and then you come back in 6 months, and we
That'd
got
be
us little
fun.
plants or something growing, and we're
Oh,
like, look
that'd
what we
be
did.
fun.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
All right.
I know
Now
you have
we're-
a
now
big
we're
genetic
making
library, so that might be useful for you.
Yeah,
Right,
it
yeah.
really would. We've been talking about it for a while. Like, we know we have some strains that we need to culture. We just need to bring back the vigor in them,
Oh yeah,
So-
I watched it genetically drift some amazing stuff, and it's still everyone's blown away.
They're still good.
Still hitting 30 plus.
But we want it
big
back.
yields, but we want it back to the gooey purple kind of tint it used to have, and it's kind of fun seeing things drift. I don't know if you've ever witnessed anything genetically drift. Have you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It took about 3 years on this one I just watched, or 4 years.
Yeah. Well, plants they'll get a viral load over time.
So tissue culture will clean them up, right?
It's one way. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's various things you can achieve with tissue culture technology. That's one thing that people use it for sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait. That's a good episode.
Yeah, we'll save that.
We're gonna save that one.
Okay,
That's
so-
a good one. Let's
so-
talk about though on let's go to the
What
the
page?
blended feed schedule. I think it's page 58.
Okay.
Yeah, since we're talking about these products
The
here, the
blended
blended
line,
line,
yeah,
just
let's
kind
look
of
at
get.
that. All right, look at all the cannabis cup wins there.
Yeah. You sure you don't
Just
want to
hit
talk
that
about this?
arrow
That looks
over
really cool.
Yeah, so actually, no, I'm glad we fell on this page here. This is kind of just like a highlight of some of the cultivators that are, winning cannabis cups around the country and around the world using
Neat.
Athena.
See, that's what we want to see, because if we see people winning stuff, then
that.
it helps us make decisions.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's not all about ease of use. It's
Mm-hmm.
about quality, too. And you're not going to win a competition unless you're bringing high-quality flower.
No, we want quality first,
Quality
and then ease
first.
of use, right?
Of
Oh, yeah.
course. That's
Yes.
everybody's
So what-
priority,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, I'm sure it's Nicole's too, is Illinois struggles on that quality thing sometimes, and it helps certain companies shine, though,
Right.
But it's just kind of weird
there
to
are
see
a
it
couple
evolve,
companies that have it dialed in, but some of them are still getting there.
Yeah, there's a few struggling still, and you would think that they would.
They need to use Athena.
Yeah.
You should try it.
They should try it.
Yeah.
All right, onto our nutrient feed schedule here.
Here we go. So this is the blended line feed chart here on the left. As you can see, the first two columns are for cloning and propagation right there. So this is your entire plant's life cycle that's represented here. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
So okay,
So
let's
you can
just stop.
pre- so-
Let's just stop for a second.
Yeah.
If you look at the clone feed, right? They are using the Bloom A and the Bloom B. So you guys are your idea, and I know where this is coming from.
But it looks as a pre-soak only.
You're doing that because you're feeding at the same rate that you're feeding the moms, right? You're feeding the clones at the same rate you're feeding the moms?
That's not necessarily why.
Okay.
The reason why, well, first you mentioned we use the bloom formula instead of the veg formula.
Right.
We just, through R&D, we found that, the extra phosphorus and potassium present in the bloom formula can help with that initial root development.
Okay.
Once a plant is rooted and it can uptake, then, you'd ideally want to switch to a vegetative feed.
Sure,
But for
and
the
I see
soak of-
that in week 1.
For like soaking cubes and resaturating your
We
cubes,
want that extra phosphorus
you want
and
to use the
potassium.
bloom nutrients.
Interesting. And now I've heard that before. It's not the first time I've heard that, especially working in the cultivation center. But it was always a topic of discussion. Like, oh, I heard this, and then somebody would argue, no, you're supposed to use this, and it was like back and forth.
So instead of just using clone gel, some of these plants that are hard to root, if we follow your directions here, it might give us a little better success rate.
Well, it maintains the health of the clone throughout the process. The cloning gel is going to help initiate rooting, but like once there's roots present and the plant's uptaking water from those cubes, like you want to have nutrients present, and that will prevent your clones from yellowing out.
Instead of using Clone X, like if you use Clone X, he uses like a Bloom A, Bloom B instead of Clone X.
I got you.
Correct. Yeah, you're basically kind of just making your own clone formula with the products you have on hand.
But it has that extra potassium and phosphorus in it.
And then you use the Athena cuts also to dip your clones in.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I heard that you can take the Athena cuts and just squirt it into a hydroponic reservoir, and that'll work too. Is that true?
It's hard for me
Like
to...
a certain amount?
I don't always like to recommend stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because...
If you dip the clones, it's going to get in there
You
anyways.
keep those things as clean as possible.
I
So I
gotcha.
don't want anything to like build up or gunk up in
Gooey
there.
I
in there.
gotcha.
But one thing that a lot of people do is they'll squeeze it directly into their Rockwell cubes or their root riot cubes or whatever they're using to propagate.
Gotcha,
the dome.
okay.
Instead of dipping the
Instead
clone
of dipping
into
the
it.
clone, they can go boom, boom, boom. It's
Just through the whole stack.
if you're doing 2,000 clones in a day,
That's
can-
way
that
easier.
matters.
that
Yeah.
can be a little bit
Yeah.
more effective.
Oh, I worked in the mom and the clone area, so I did 2,000 clones in a
Yeah,
day.
you know what I'm talking
Yep.
My
about.
gosh, I wonder what the state record is for one person.
We did have competitions sometimes, and a kid named Caleb won them all. Like he blew us away. He was
Shout
just
out
like
to
a
Caleb.
machine. Shout out to Caleb because he was like a machine. Yes.
Caleb sounds like Athena wants your resume.
Caleb comes in. He comes to our shop.
Does
you
he?
know who you are, Caleb. Yeah.
Well, we need to get him working for us. He's that quick. Jeez. Everybody else around here is slow.
Yeah. We would have like a cultivation Olympics, and he was the man.
All right. So back on this feeding schedule, it looks like we got clone, veg, and flower. Now you give us a 9-week flower, which I kind of like. I feel like that's closer. I don't like an 8, and I don't
Yeah.
really like a 10, but 9's where I go.
Yeah, and you can tailor it up or down as desired.
Yeah.
This is just kind of like an all-encompassing.
That's going to be
the majority
around
of
60
the
days or so,
genetics.
60, 63 days.
Yeah.
But if you look at your competitors, all they got is 8-week or 10-week. So by you having that 9, I feel like you definitely are growers, because that's what I would have. I'm a 70-day, 75-day person, I feel like. Am I doing the math right there?
No, you're 60, 63 for a 9-weeker.
Well, I'm right
Full
there.
9 weeks
I'm
would be
close.
63
I'm
days,
close.
yeah.
I'm not 10. 10 would be 70.
You harvest on day 60 a lot of times.
It depends. It
So
has
do
to be
I.
an indica. It has to be like a runts or something.
Well, yeah, sativa's got to go a little longer.
Yeah, a lot of that's going to be genetic dependent for
So
sure.
looking at this feed schedule, I can see the clones, you're doing the Bloom A, Bloom B, but you're also adding the cleanse. And let's just talk about that real quick. You're adding the cleanse all the way through.
Yeah, cleanse, like, a good way to put it is a cleanse is like an insurance policy for your root zone. Like, basically it's an oxidant. It's hypochlorous acid is the ingredient, right? And what that does is it brings extra oxygen to the roots. And that's important in every stage of the plant's life cycle, right? As far as maintaining
Absolutely.
healthy roots. And also it fights pathogens. Raising your ORP is the term, oxidation reduction potential. Higher levels of ORP will combat pathogens in the root zone, like fusarium or like root rot, basically.
So it is basically just adding a little bit more of a preventative to keep everything on the up and up, basically.
Yeah, as
and
far
keep
as
your
the-
roots clean.
As far as the root zone going, yes, and there's additional benefits, like if you are using an irrigation system, it's going to also keep that clean. It's going to fight algae. It's
Right.
going to prevent mineral scale and buildup and things like
Which
that.
is, I guess, what I thought it was for in the first place. I guess I thought it was to clean systems, but it's not just that. It's actually to keep your root zone clean. fine too.
Oh, even if you're hand watering, like I 100% recommend.
Now, also
Interesting.
on
Good to
this,
know. Good to know.
this is way more than a feeding schedule. You look down, does it recommend pH also on there, or what else is on there?
Yeah.
It gives you pH recommendations based on what kind of medium you're growing in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you some EC targets or ppm targets depending on what scale you could be measuring.
Yeah, I can see coco. You got your pH, your EC, your rock wool, PHEC.
Yeah, this is for like prepping grow medium before you actually transplant into
You're
it.
pre-soaking it, yeah.
Gives you
okay.
some specific targets for that.
That's so
I
cool
like
that
that.
you guys have this all spelled out like that. And then you have the spray program, and you have that set up where you can do those together. You can add those together,
Absolutely.
preventative and the curative.
And look at it, it's all there. It doesn't leave you hanging with questions.
And if you are left hanging, you can just call and someone's
That's right.
there.
That's right.
Yeah. Or call us. I mean, at LevelUp, we partnered here with Athena, and so we know very well how these products work. And,
Oh, yeah.
we've done our research too. So, and if we don't, we know Owen, so we can make sure that you get the answers you need.
Whatever I can do to help.
And so I see the dosatron over there. Now, working at the cultivation center, I have used a dosatron. I know what those are, but can you just tell the people at home what a dosatron is?
Yeah, so that's one version of a dosing system. You know, as you get to be a bit of a larger scale cultivator and you're managing more canopy, you know, that can kind of take a lot of legwork out. Like you don't have to necessarily mix and measure every single ingredient itself. You know, if you want to kind of streamline that process,
And then just pump it right in.
Yeah.
It does. It doses it for you. It's really nice.
Can we look at the next page here? Because this is important
Yep.
for people at home that are hand watering and not using irrigation
yeah.
systems and not
Ooh, I
dosing.
love
at
that.
this.
This
Hand
is
watering. Stop it. I
It's
love that.
Specifically a hand watering guide. And what it allows the grower to do is take some crop steering techniques that you would normally do through automation and irrigation strategy, and just be able to just achieve some of those same things by just monitoring runoff and making decisions on, you know, how you feed from
So,
there.
All right, so what are we looking at here?
as a home grower, I hand water, and I I do some of this irrigation steering myself, but I hand water, right? So
Right.
it's almost like crop steering, but it's just about the way you're watering and how you're doing your runoffs, checking your runoffs, and how you're feeding.
Right.
For
and,
that.
And
So
this is
let's
going to
talk about
prevent a lot of issues for folks too. So this is a way to drive maximum performance and prevent problems.
Maximum performance. I
if
like
you-
that.
Even if you're just once a week, say, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
you collecting some of that runoff after a feeding, you check it for EC and pH, and then you'll know if you're within the target range for what week you're at in the life cycle or not, right? And then you can make adjustments from there, like data-based decisions, because you
That is right. So one of the things I teach in the classes, the grow classes that we have, I teach people how to do an input-output test, right? And most home growers don't know that or how to do that. So
Super
it's
valuable.
super valuable, and it's so easy. It's literally just measuring what is my plant eating.
Right.
Like, you know, and when
Yeah,
you're
what's
doing
coming
that,
out.
you can dial in what you need to feed next before you have any kind of issues pop up.
that's it. You catch them early.
That's right. Yep.
You can say, hey, this plant's not eating, or hey, this plant's heavy, right?
Or we need to let it dry back longer, or
Yeah.
keep feeding, or we need to push more runoff because it's stacking too quickly, or there's all these different variables. But now you're catching them before the plant will show you
Yep.
in a negative way.
Data driven instead of symptom driven.
Exactly.
Yeah, huge. So talk about it. Well, show me
Yeah,
the chart.
either way,
Talk
I
about it.
just-
Yeah.
Well, hold on a
absolutely.
second, real quick.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about, though, really is also reading your plant, and we tell everyone at home to read your plant.
100%. Yeah. If you do read your plant and you feel like there is something off, or you're sensing a deficiency based on what you're seeing,
Posture, or
I always tell like every grower of
Input,
any
output.
scale, the very first thing you should do is collect a runoff reading, because that's going to paint a picture of what's going on in your roots. If you look at your runoff and all of a sudden you realize your pH is like plummeted way down low, and you're seeing like a micronutrient deficiency,
Right.
then that's probably why, and you identify it right away and you can correct that issue.
yeah, so
Right.
everyone at home, take this as a learning lesson. If you have an issue, before you come to the grow shop or try to solve that problem, take a runoff sample.
Right.
Bring me the sample if you don't have a pen, and me and Nichole or anybody here is qualified should help diagnose the problem. And that's a huge thing for people, because if you leave a problem go, it affects taste, it affects quality, it affects
Oh, yeah.
yield, it may get moldy, it might get attacked by bugs now.
Well, once you
It's
get one
weak.
problem, you can start to get a pile on of problems
That's
coming
it.
off
They
of
compile.
Yep.
that. And one thing that I've noticed happens with a lot of people is they'll get They're not doing regular runoff, so they'll get loaded up with salt, and then pretty soon they have a lockout problem. So they're putting in 2.0 EC, and they're pulling out 6.0 E, something crazy, and it's like, whoa, but not knowing that without those numbers. So that readout is so important for them to get that information.
Yeah, so if we look at this here, you're giving some EC targets, and that's, you have a runoff target.
Yeah, absolutely. Like naturally, the nutrients are going to stack up inside the medium over time.
Sure.
As your drybacks happen and as your plant takes, and pushing more runoff is going to minimize that, but you don't want to be wasteful, right? So there's a nice happy medium.
There we go.
Yeah. What's your happy medium? 10%?
10 to 20%.
10 to
That
20?
usually keeps things in check. It's enough to make sure you're not going to stack too quickly and get way out of hand. And it's also going to make sure you are ensuring that you're actually getting fully saturated, so you're not leaving dry pockets and getting root loss that way.
Or not getting all the way down to the bottom of the roots.
Right.
Now, tell me about dry backs. So that's something that I preach hardcore. I'm a soil coco mix. So I get soil coco mix. And to me, a dry back is huge, especially if you're in soil. But tell me about dry backs and how.
Yeah, you want to allow a dry back to happen between feedings. That allows, one, it doesn't eliminate oxygen from the root zone as much. It allows the roots to breathe.
They have to breathe. Yes.
It also encourages more root development and further searching.
That's right. They're searching for the water. Now, what about in cocoa? Same thing, dry backs?
Same thing. Honestly, in cocoa, some people love cocoa because it is some of the strongest drybacks out of any of the mediums. It drains very quickly, so
goes fast.
Yeah, your drybacks can happen quicker, be a little bit more controllable, and you can really strategize around it.
Now, for everybody at home, do you feel like the more drybacks you have, the bigger the yield in flower?
Well, drybacks you want to use strategically at certain times. Like, for example, early in veg, when you first saturate your root zone and it's not fully populated by roots yet, that's when I want to introduce one or two stronger drybacks, right? And then throughout that, I want
those roots searching for.
You want them to have a reason to, right?
That's right.
And then there's certain times where you don't want to add that kind of drought stress to the plant, and you just want things to coast, for the rest of veg or the bulking phase of flower.
Yeah.
So I preach using stronger drybacks at strategic times, early in veg, during the stretch, those first 3 weeks of flower. That can help induce some positive stressors.
Yeah.
And then again at the very end when you're ripening, in that final week, and you want to introduce that drought stress back
right
to the
before
plant.
flush.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one of the things that I preach to my classmates, my students, is once you get to that week 4 of flower, you should really be gas pedal to the metal, cruise control set. There's not a lot of you're not doing a lot of dry backs or different things at that point. It should be water on, day off, water on, day off. It should be just cruise control.
At that point, you've gotten through the stretch. Your bud sites are there. Now you're in the bulking phase.
That's right.
The idea is to keep this plant very stress-free.
Yeah.
Let it just wake up and photosynthesize and put on weight.
Yep. The stressful part, if you're going to do any kind of stress training, has to be in the veg in the first couple weeks. And after that, cruise control.
You guys at Athena also believe in trellising to increase yields?
Oh, for sure.
That's right.
It's almost a necessity.
So everybody at home, if you're not trellising yet and your plant just stands there, yeah, it may work, but will it increase your yield if you let that plant lean against something its entire flowering cycle? I guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna get more even light coverage. It's gonna be supported. You're not gonna break anything off on accident. Yeah.
And it's not putting its energy towards trying to stay upright.
Correct.
Right.
All right. Well, is there anything else in this book we want to talk about?
Yeah, for the folks at home, definitely get your hands on one of these books. We didn't cover nearly half of it.
Yeah, look at all the pages.
A lot
Steve's
of
got it pulled up there. So many pages.
Yeah, so this is...
our cloning SOPs are right in there, too. So.
The information is here, which I like. So if you can read, it's here. Now, you do have a website also.
Yeah, and you can find this stuff all right on our website, too. That's
and what's that?
www.athenaag, so athenaag.com.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it's a great website. Everything that you need is on there. And another thing that I want to talk about is we have the Pro line that we're going to talk about. We have the tissue culture that we're going to talk about. We want to talk about some irrigation strategies.
Absolutely.
So we want to have you back.
Yeah, Owen, we want you back. We like you. Now that we've seen you and met you, yeah, you're a decent guy. We
I'd
like
love
you.
to come
We haven't
back.
had too many people from the East Coast. He's from Rhode
No,
Island. You know?
and everybody we've had has been pretty cool because they're from the culture, so we like
That's
that.
it.
We're
all growers. At
we
the
all
end
get
of the
along
day.
by the end of the day.
We get the same goals.
That's right.
Yes.
But we want to thank you for coming on and everything. But before we let you go, is there anybody you want to shout out, say thanks to, that maybe has helped you in your career or anything?
Like honestly, the team at Athena has helped me grow as a cultivator. Everybody, everyone on the team is very skilled.
That's great.
And we're all in it for the same reasons.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from the other guys on my team.
Yeah.
on the
That's what it's
facility advisor
about.
team.
And that's the thing. The people that are willing to actually share the knowledge are the people I want to be around in my life.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Athena's full of them.
Yeah, if it's something that I haven't been up against before, somebody else on my team has, and we operate as a team. So
Yeah,
we can provide that.
cultivation is a team sport, Like
It
it
is.
really is,
Yeah.
Like you learn from each other, you grow with each other.
Yeah. But I also
We,
wanted
the
to thank you
growers.
guys for having me out here today.
Yeah, no problem. We
Yeah.
appreciate you
Diving
giving us a
into
chance and everything.
We want,
And
you know what we want to do though?
but before we let you go, I forgot something, didn't we?
Yeah, we like to give things away, Owen. So I
Yeah.
know we have some people out on the floor today, and they're out there because you're here, and they're so excited
Oh, I
that
saw them
you're here.
piling in. I'm excited.
Yeah,
So
so,
we're gonna-
they
we're
want to
gonna-
talk to you, but we wanted to treat them to maybe a giveaway of this whole line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do
yeah,
that.
like look how much it is. Look, the whole line. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have some names in here, right? We have names
right.
of all the people out there that are here for Owen, and we're gonna draw a name. I'm gonna let Owen draw a name.
And they're here just for you, Owen.
Sure.
Yep.
You
So
and Athena.
draw a name there, Owen.
Because the goddess, she reigns supreme.
And I'll let you say that name out
All right,
loud.
who's the lucky winner
Who's
of the
the
full
lucky
blended
winner?
line? Jim G.
Jim.
Jim
Oh my
G's got
goodness.
it.
Jim
All right.
won.
Wow.
Go Jim, go.
Go, Jim,
Awesome,
go.
yeah.
All right, so we'll go out on the floor. We'll let you talk to these people, and yeah, we'll just wrap it up for the day here.
Yeah, and we want to thank you, Owen, for making the trip and coming here. I know you'll probably visit a few more people, but and we want to thank you, me and Nichole do, as giving us a reputable product. We've had it in the store from the beginning, and just positive feedback. No one's complaining, and now that you're giving books of information with it, it's just great.
Yeah, whatever you guys need, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help any way I can. And,
Yep.
Thanks again. I'm looking forward to the next time we do this.
Heck
We'll
yeah.
get you back later this year. And
yeah.
we talked about we're both going to be at the MJ BizCon, right? So
Oh, I'll see you.
everybody
Yeah,
can
next-
see us out there.
that'll be fun.
Yep. But before then, we'll get you on before then.
Absolutely.
All right, well, stay with us because we'll see you guys next episode.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Thanks.
Fill your grow arena with Athena, where your buds burning clean and green. Vigorous growth is sure to let you know the goddess, she reigns supreme. I said the goddess, she reigns supreme. Simplicity in a bottle, the ground will shake when Athena's here. The best buzz you'll make. Burn something cleaner the Athena way. Fill your grow arena with Athena today.
Well, thank you very much, Owen. Great information, and everyone loved it.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
See you soon.
Get to your highest level that you can deny with LevelUp Seed and Garden Supply. To grow your medication and you need an education, we're your one-stop shop, 6th the Laurel Block. For your pots and soil and your lights and beans, LevelUp has you covered, we have all of your needs. Get to your highest level that you can't deny with LevelUp Seed and Garden Supply.
No harm.
Got to be all mine. All mine. Foxy lady.
Down on the city.
That's low.
Owen, who do you work for?
Athena?
Okay. That seems like a pretty cool name company. Isn't that like a goddess?
Yeah.
Gosh.
One of the better ones.
Yeah, it is.
The goddess of love.
She,
Isn't it
she's the one that reigns supreme, I'm telling you.
Yes, she does.
She's also the goddess of bountiful harvests.
Yeah, you're right. It should be.
All right. Let's act like we're on a show here, folks, just for a second.
Pretend
Just
like
for
we're
a
doing something
just for a
important.
second here. All right. So
He's just
testing.
gonna come in and videotape us. We're gonna
Testing,
act like we're
testing.
talking.
So
There
we're
won't
here
be any
live.
Sound or anything.
We're here live today. We're here.
We're here.
We're here live. We're here. No, we're not live. I lied.